later in the day. Thanks for joining, everybody. We have to bring the podcast to an end because we've got some games to play. Draft is starting. VKS and Fluxo, take it away, fellas.
Alrighty, into champion select here, getting done with bans. Looks like VKS has been listening to you, Rudude. They ban it away. Interesting to see it banned on the blue side, not wanting to first pick it. They're going to go with the Tristana B1. How do you feel about that one, Rudude?
I'm okay with this, honestly. It gets push if Grelthal's going to take it mid lane and allows Grell to do crazy things in the jungle. Also, it pairs up nicely with all of Damage's champion pool if Trigo wants to play it bot lane. This is a flex pick between both AD and bot, and I think that versus the Kai'Sa specifically, again, it has a really good matchup as the Tristana. You go for something that is very aggressive. I'm thinking the Rel can get locked in here, even if it's just an Alistar. You go for that, you 2v2 the Kai'Sa very early on while she's not as strong, doesn't have those evolves. You can have a lot of control in that bot lane. Okay.
The other option is Xayah is available, and you can flex that Tristana to mid and lock in a Xayah Rel right now, which is also a very good bot lane combo. I'm curious because you talked about how you didn't like the B1 Xayah, Kai'Sa, excuse me.
Yeah.
If the Xayah is banned, are you okay with that early pick of the Kai'Sa because that hard counter is off the table?
I'm okay. I still don't like it. There are other picks that still do fine. Things like Aphelios. It's not in this draft, didn't get banned. The Aphelios can also do very well. With your sniper gun, you do just outrange and have a pretty good time of things versus the Kai'Sa regardless. But it looks like we're heading in, at the very least for the time being, a different direction. We've seen Gigo immediately take the Gwen. If House takes the Azir here, this is just like they've been listening to us while they've had the podcast on while they're waiting for the game to get fixed. Put House on Azir, put Gigo on Gwen. This is tried and true for both these teams.
Yeah, I love it. And getting that Gwen for Gigo, so good. Means he's going to be a big, big threat when we get to the mid game. Azir, in fact, locked in for House. Love that pick from the side of Fluxo. And then it looks like Fluxo's going to focus towards that bottom lane, immediately taking the Varus off the table. And it wouldn't surprise me if this second ban was the Xayah to really trim that champion pool for Trigo. The one good thing is that you can get Xayah or Azir. Or not Xayah or Azir. I'm
Xayah or Aphelios.
Xayah or Aphelios. I'm all over the place here in Champions. Like, okay, pick of the litter for Trigo. Silas is the last ban from Fluxo.
And don't forget, I still have heavy stock in Tristana Rel as a 2 versus 2. You can still just pilot that down on the bot side. There's also, as well, rumorings of Rungle. Rel going into the jungle. Axeman's been spewing this propaganda for a couple of weeks now. We've reached 13-13. There are a couple of little changes to Rel which made her better in the jungle that made her better in the jungle versus the changes that made her a little worse in support. You can also use the 2v2 in the mid jungle. Plenty of options open to VKS as they head further forward in this draft, and already a lot of dive on their side as well. So regardless of where these picks go, we're looking for dive for the rest of VKS. So we see Tay opts into the wiser special here, the Gnar in the top lane.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I know, Gwen typically is fine in a lot of ranged matchups, does have her W to keep her safe from a certain amount of the poke. And of course, the one thing that bugs me the most about Gwen is that it feels nearly impossible to blow through her mana. She just is so non-resource reliant. She's very, very good to stay in lane for a long time, so should be an interesting.
She has a mana bar, but it doesn't exist.
Right? Honestly, I've been playing it so much lately because it's such a fun pick, and I never care. It never bothers me. Trigo here going for the Jinx here, so that late game hyper carry for Trigo. And it looks like it is going to be paired up with that Rel because the classic jungle matchup, we're going to get it here, Sejuani versus Maokai.
Yeah, 2 of our really aggressive junglers piloting just decidedly resident sleeper picks. Now, that's not the worst case in the world because they are facilitating for carries in the top lane. Typically, if you're going to go for a carry jungle, you need a tank somewhere, so the top laners tend to bear that burden. Not this game, though. We get to see double damage from our top side. The Rakan rounds out Fluxo's composition and gives them an element of engage as well. They're going to be looking to pair that up nicely with the Nature's Grasp, potentially with a Mega Gnar timing from Tay. But a very good front-to-back composition for both of these teams. These are 2 sides that you can very definitely see death bowling. We've got a lot of split push capability from our top laners as well, so expect Gigo ties, matchup to be very important, because whoever ends up with the better 1 versus 1 will likely be able to dictate map state through the mid game.
Yeah, and one thing to note here for Fluxo is something we've seen as of late. They have a little bit of wiggle room in this composition if they get behind, because you've got some solid disengage. The Nature's Grasp as well as the Emperor's Divide does give you a little bit more safety in terms of dealing with the VKS hard engage from the Rel and the Sejuani. So there are some options, because we know Grell, hey, you only have to go back to yesterday, Rudude, to see Grell playing aggressively and getting rolling on that Sejuani. I'm curious, as we bring Trajan back in before we hit the Rift, what your thoughts are on this champion select.
Round robin, things from the first matchup, the Gigo Gwen, that we'll see if that can be as massive of a carry influence as it was before, combined with some of the developments that these teams have shown through the system. We've got the House Azir back, we now have Bronze on the Kai'Sa as opposed to on things like the Zeri, so we have, you know, some things have changed, some things have stayed the same, and we'll see if this game comes up with a similar result. Of course, the main difference for me is that Desamus is a very different player than he was in that first game. The Maokai can be so impactful in so many different ways, and of course, House Azir just makes me happy whenever I see it. So, I don't know about you, Rudude. We saw the blind Kai'Sa once again, and the blind Azir. We talked about the blind picks. Do you think they were legal in this game?
Blind Azir is always legal if you've got House on your team. Yep, blind Kai'Sa, I'm still ringing some red flags about.
Yeah, we will see how legal. We'll see if the cops catch him before the game is over. As we go into round 1, take it away, Yeso and Rudude.
Thank you so much, Trajan. Our first game of the day promises to be a very fun and action-packed Sunday. Couple things to note if you're looking back towards the first time that these teams played back in round 1 of the split. Trigo played the Jinx, finished 5-1 and 6 on the pick, so not a huge surprise that he's going back to that one, as JoJo, with a little bit of an invade, has the grand entrance, though, to get out. Not much trouble there. Also important to note, you're talking about Desamus having that rough performance the last time these teams met. VKS had 100% neutral objective control in that game. 5 Drakes, both Rift Heralds, and a Baron. So Fluxo really got dominated in those neutral objectives. Something tells me Desamus is going to have a little something to say about that this time around.
It is. He should, and it's important to remember that Desamus was playing Kha'Zix that game. Kha'Zix got a flash in the pan and immediately got burned because the champ sucks. So they just immediately, everybody in CBLOL, they had 1 week where they're like, whoa, Kha'Zix must be OP because they played it at MSI. And then it fell through very quickly and teams went, oh yeah, that champ's not good. We'll go back to playing these tanks. We'll go back to playing things that are a little more standard. Now with the Maokai picked up for Desamus, the expectation is he's going to have a lot more control moving himself through the jungle, and also getting a leash from his bot lane means he's going to be a little bit faster on that clear than you would maybe think Grell will be. Early aggression from our top laners there, as they both trade places there with their respective ease. And you can already see Greathar looking to be aggressive with this Tristana. That's exactly what you want to be piloting the Tristana mid style. You don't pick this champion to scale into the late game, you pick it to make sure the enemy mid laner hates their life.
Yep. You just drop that explosive charge on their head every chance you get and continue to just crash waves, because you're a Tristana. You don't really get to freeze waves and control the big wave, so you just get to decide, hey, you just have to farm under tower all game, my friend, and I get to do as I please.
Freezing just doesn't exist for Tristana. Yep. You're quite right. Explosive charge passive means that your AoE tends to push waves regardless if you're last hitting. Small skirmishes here down on the spot side, and once again I want us to turn our attentions to the broader scope of this map. Obviously we had a little bit of a podcast for the pre-game, so if you're just joining us for when the game starts, both of these two teams 5-4, with Furia expected to take a loss today with their game up against Red Canids. This game gives potentially sole possession of 5th place, and also a chance to sneak into potentially 3rd, depending on how the results of INTZ and Loud go against their respective teams. Now you see Grell here, working his way into this top side. Will have Pryor from mid lane and top lane for this invade, but the Desamus has spotted him out.
Yeah, is going to get spotted, and Twisted Advance will lock him down, and Tay's going to get here first. That wave is pushed, but Tay does have the inside track, and getting over the wall with the Arctic Assault is not going to be nearly enough. Grell is going to fall. First blood there for Tay's Gnar, and this is the kind of start you're looking for as Fluxo.
You can't write this, Yeso, right? What did I say with Grell, and like the level of consistency that he has is sometimes he will just go in with no like support from his team and die. I just saw it on my screen again.
I mean, I feel like you're just writing him a ticket. That was illegal.
Yeah.
I think it's just straight up. What are you doing there? And we're going to see another engage here on the bottom lane. The Rockets doing a lot of work there on a JoJo. Down below 100 health there and burning from the Ignite. But that's Brunsey flashing in. Trade of Flash is here. Is going to get stunned as damage locks him down momentarily. Trigo has to back away. Quite a few summoner spells blown in this bottom lane.
All 4 down for Fluxo. Trigo still has Cleanse and Damage, still has Flash, so a slight advantage in the overall Summoner Spell trade for the K-Stars. And of course, triple potion with the longsword means that both of our AD carries are likely to be able to sustain back up quite quickly. Get to see that it's Disarmus stealing away the crab on that bot side, and obviously with the Grell's invade going quite so monumentally wrong, he's got quite the advantage. Oh, if he Hex Flashes this, he's just going to be able to kill off Trigo. Remember, no flash on the Jinx.
Yeah, and they don't have a ward in that Tri-Brush, so they have no idea that Disarmus is there. They start to sniff something as the sapling will get tossed in, and luckily, VKS sniffed that out quickly enough to save themselves as Repthar taking a little damage here from House. House did get it back and teleports back in. Ooh, one more tap there from the Soldier. Repthar below 100 health will have to go for the recall. Has teleport available.
And still has Flash, right? The important part here is that even if he's thought he's going to go down to a more auto attack, you can always just flash the Soldier and should be okay. But you get to see a little bit of prio and a little bit of emphasis on why we're a fan of House taking the Azir pick, and you get to see that Tristana actually opting into this Vampiric Scepter in an attempt to stave off some of House's poke. Now he's got a couple of points in queue. The Azir may be able to fight back just a little bit. Obviously that Vamp Scepter is going to do great work for the Tristana, making sure that that poke doesn't necessarily stick.
Definitely going to have to continue to keep an eye on this mid lane. Tay getting the push in top. Gigo, though, doing a good job. Bit of a CS lead up there, so the Gwen doing just fine. And now we're just chilling. It seems like this early game, outside of the bottom lane, that has been more than happy to skirmish, Rudude. It's going to be the junglers likely dictating a lot of this action, at least for the next 5 minutes or so.
And you'd like to think that with Grell having that invade, having gone down, it's going to be a little bit more tempered in his aggression through the early stages, recognizing, okay, well, that was pretty silly of me earlier. I'll make sure that I'm not making those same mistakes once again. But a little hover there from JoJo means that Grethar actually has to be very careful of stepping up in this mid lane. His priority around the river, you can see he's only got a vision. He's got that vision ward on the top side of river, so he's hugging that. Extensively, because he knows if he heads down toward that bot side, there's a chance there's somebody there, there's somebody making his life miserable. And now, with that in mind, VKS are like, okay, well, if our mid laner can't play, why have we locked Tristana if we're not going to try and get plates for it? Let's put a little bit of vision down, let's secure some safety around that mid lane. And now, with 2 control wards on either side, Grethar should be able to step a little bit further up in the lane, and obviously with the rocket jump, the innate safety of Tristana does speak for itself.
Level 4 here for the Sejuani, looking to maybe get a gank going here in the bottom lane. Brunsey and JoJo are going to walk up into the river, and they do have a pink ward down, so Grell biding his time, waiting for an angle to get in there, as that's the ultimate. The needlework coming through from Gigo. Tay is going to go Mega and just tosses Gigo into the wall. Will get out of trouble there, so ultimate spent for both top laners.
Yeah, neither one of them have teleport, so this is a really important trade window, because if you manage to force the enemy top laner back to base, they have to pretty much walk the long way back in. Tay here, missing out on a little bit of experience, he's going to walk forward, doesn't get the hop there to double back, so Gigo gets to at least proxy this wave and decide what he wants to do with the rest of his time. Looks like it's a quick base, he's got a nice CS lead, and again, Gigo on Gwen. Oh, bot fight.
Yeah, that's going to be the engage and the double stun there from damage. Grell is here for the assist, and Screen Entrance will knock him up. And no further pushing there from VKS. Desamus also getting here just a little late for the counter to ensure that there's no threat of a dive against his bottom lane. Also important to note, level 6 there on that Maokai, is that's going to be the Shurima shuffle into the tower range. Grethar taking quite a bit of damage. His ultimate will knock House back to a safe distance, and Grethar will survive for the time being.
So ulti's burned in the mid lane, as we saw in the top side of the map, and with the HP advantage in the mid lane, House doesn't have any mana to particularly contribute to this fight around the dragon, but Fluxo, they're stepping forward. Now remember, Disarmus is level 6 versus Grell's level 5, and that ulti for the Maokai, you can see it's come out now, has a pretty decent zoning capability.
Yeah, that's going to be the Nature's Grasp, locking down damage, and that's going to be the kill going to Desamus. House, first one to roam down from the mid lane. Doesn't have almost any mana to speak of here, but still the setup there from Desamis gets a kill for Fluxo, and looks like it's going to get them the first Drake of this game. And this is Desamis' first Drake in a game against VKS this split. Congratulations.
No neutral objective Dominion this time. Really good to see Fluxo stepping into a nice early game, and honestly, an early game that has been a little bit handed to them by VKS. With the early invade from Grell going awry that was, again, just initiated by the VKS jungler. With another engagement there, Grell the one stepping forward, Damage the one who does end up paying the price, but it's a level 5 versus level 6 jungle situation. If I'm looking at that from an outside perspective, I never want to take that fight because I know Maokai is so powerful. VKS find that out the hard way, apparently, and end up losing out on a dragon and a kill as well. Now, it's important that these kills are on the top side champions as opposed to those bot side champions. If it was gold on House and Brunsey, we'd be a lot more excited for the Fluxo mid game. But gold on Gnar, gold on Maokai, not necessarily bad, just not as good as you might have hoped.
Yeah, I will say credit to Brunsey and JoJo. They've done a good job of absorbing a lot of pressure in the 2v2 as well as Grell getting down there. That's going to get Gigo tossed into the wall here for Rift Herald, and he's going to get taken down. Another kill forward to Samus. VKS want to contest it, but it's a 2v4 right now. Rift Herald taken down. That is the Jinx Rocket from Trigo as finally the marksmen have arrived. Tay has to flash away, but he's going to go down to Grell, and here comes Grethar jumping in, absolutely blowing people up. The Tristana doing work. House getting to the safety of the tower, but I don't know you're that safe. That's a double kill for Grethar. JoJo is going to survive for the time being, but VKS is on the board as Rift Herald is dropped in the top lane.
Can you base JoJo? Please get back! 8 seconds is enough, but it's a lot of plates going over to Grethar and a lot of gold on this Tristana once again. Damage may fall here. We've seen Brunsey now show up.
Yeah, Brunsey is going to hit the Void Seeker there, but it's going to hold on to the Killer Instinct. Knows that he likely will not survive the 1v3, but at least prevents a continued push on this top lane tower. Well played. Let's check out this replay. It all starts with the early contest from Fluxo on this Rift Herald.
And it's VKS's timing's just being a little bit wrong, which gives Fluxo the inherent advantage. Like, basic math here is a 4v3. Fluxo are going to come out on top. But Gigo actually does such a good job at like buying time and distracting Fluxo from taking the Herald that they actually spend enough of their resources sort of sticking around when they probably shouldn't have been. Fluxo don't even get that Herald that they were after to try and contest for. They don't really get any kills off the back of this either. Yes, Gigo falls, but Grethar, absolutely monstrous. Love to see the aggression here, flashing under a tier 1 turret. You think he cares? Absolutely not. And JoJo does manage to make it out to safety, but it's good to see that despite VKS's over-aggression, even when they're going a bit too quickly, the rest of the team are going to try and follow you regardless.
And that was a huge infusion of gold in this Tristana. You mentioned just a few minutes ago, Ruder, that you want to get that Tristana pushing lane, taking plates, getting that early gold, and that exactly was delivered. 2 kills for the Tristana as well as those tower plates. Grethar is in a great place right now.
I want to take a quick time to take a look at those top lane item choices. Ty in particular, starting out with the Hullbreaker, just gives him a lot of inherent defensive stats when he's isolated.
Ooh, House almost caught there by the Glacial Prison, taking a lot of damage, but is able to get out of trouble, and the Nature's Grasp comes through. Grethar going low, is able to rocket jump out of trouble for the time being, and House didn't want to step forward quite yet, so Grethar will survive.
Seeing both of our mid laners here, very aggressive, very willing to deal damage. Exactly what you want from the mid-table teams and their mid laners specifically. As soon as they get out of danger, turn and face. House there was the subject of the early focus from VKS, but he stopped afterwards as Gigo got needle work, doesn't quite find it onto Ty, and now Brunsey in trouble.
Oh, the flash in from Damage, and the Magnet Storm locks down Brunsey here. One more rocket could possibly do it. There it is. That's a kill for Trigo. Well played from the VKS bottom lane. He will back down to the actual bottom of the map.
House.
Teleport on its way from House. And Grell, you're on the wrong side of the map, my friend. You will not escape. And House thinking about the chase onto Gigo and will not be able to get it.
The more this game goes on, the more this game is going to have to be about the Houses here. We hyped it up coming into this game, coming off of the pre-show. It's exactly what Fluxo have used to carry a couple of games, and it's going to need to be what they use to carry this game as well. The difference between these AD carries is getting bigger and bigger time after time. Double teleports in here. Oh no, Tay.
Oh man, and just the traps laid down by Trigo. Does eat 2 tower shots, but survives. and that is first tower for VKS. So the Jinx getting some of that gold. So both of these marksmen getting online.
So this is that bot lane play. Remember, Gigo burned the needlework earlier on, and Grell just here. It doesn't really matter that Disarmus is covering, unfortunately. The base damages of the Sejuani more than enough. Finds the stun before the Mega Gnar comes through. And then obviously, Gigo's got a cone to get out to safety, and I love this from Grell. Actually, instead of patting himself to safety, secures his top lane a living, as opposed to trying to play for the 2 lives when it could have very easily been 2 deaths. Yeah, so look at those numbers. 7 plates to VKS versus just the 1 for Fluxo. The mid-game advantage decidedly in their favour, and VKS with this gold should be looking to take this fight around the Drake.
Yeah, they already have priority here in this bottom river, but VKS do want to contest. It's a full 5-on-5 here, so keep an eye on both teams. That's going to be the twist advance going in. Nature's Grass comes through as well. A lot of damage there on the front line, but they're still surviving, and VKS is looking great. Now Trigo is excited and just firing away with these rockets. Fluxo has to back off of this Drake, and it will reset for the time being. Disarmus considering maybe he can still contest. I don't know if it's worth it. He's got House in his back pocket, but that is it. It's a 2v4 for Fluxo, and they will back away.
So both junglers have that green smite. Not quite upgraded yet, but clearing camps. It's going to give health back to Grell. He comes back from being about 10% HP to 40%. It's not the highest, but it's enough to secure the dragon. And it is important to remember, VKS here with these double marksmen are going to scale very handsomely into the late game. Jinx and Tristana are your 2 longest range AD carries when we go to level 18. And the fact that you can pilot those and make sure that you've got the lethal injection of a Tristana rocket jump as well, it's going to give a lot of tools to the VKS squad as we move later into the matchup. Fluxo, however, not without their own late game scaling. We know the damage that a Kai'Sa can deal, and her, literally named Killer Instinct can do a lot of damage to close the distance on that range as well.
Yeah, and important to note the first buys coming through from both of the marksmen on the side of VKS, both grabbing that Kraken Slayer, recognizing that they're going to have to chip through those beefy health bars of the Gnar and the Maokai in these fights, and they're bringing the tools to the table to help them whittle through those front lines when they have to fight front to back here. So well done from the VKS marksman on that front. Both teams starting to group here around mid lane, looking to contest for this Rift Herald. That's going to be the Shuriba shuffle.
There we go.
Played. Catches both of them. House, that was beautiful.
What we want to see from Fluxo, embodied by House. Pick him as you, let him carry you. Picks up the 2 marksmen, the 2 hyper-fed members of VKS, secures Fluxo away right back into this game. The gold still very close. This Rift Herald is going to make it about even if they can use it to break open this mid-tier 1. But 16 minutes into the game, so that's what we want from House.
That is, I mean, look, if you're at home and you play mid lane and so kind of pick up his Azir, that is exactly what you're looking for your Emperor's Divide. Sliding in behind those priority carries, pushing them right back into your team. You also have JoJo with a perfect grand entrance to chain the crowd control and keep them locked down so that Tristana can't jump away. Let's take a look at this replay.
I mean, we can just sit and marvel in the beauty of it, honestly. Like, House, he does it every single time. He loves this side of mid lane where he can sit in fog, catch people off guard, catch people lacking. You see, Greb thought he's got flash. Would have been able to get out of there had the reactions just been a little bit faster, but really good stuff from House, making sure that he knows exactly the time in which he can go for it. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday on cast. Going to go for it once again because I think House has nailed this. The Azir Peninsula where you're got the timing to go for those engages, and you do it. So in this mid game, we're at the apex where you're not quite the only member that has the damage, so you need to be a carry and staying back and keep yourself safe. But in the mid game, if you're carrying and picking up those expensive targets, you're doing such a good job.
Teleport into this bottom lane. Gigo has to run away. The Emperor's Divide comes through, but the needlework slowing down Fluxo here, and that means Gigo will get out of trouble, and that teleport expended by House. Gigo just going to wait and absorb this wave as House continues to push. Damage here as well, so they could theoretically go for this, but I think House pretty safe at this point.
Now that, honestly, is a very good play for VKS. Gigo is definitely buying a lot of resources from Fluxo down on the spot side. The TP from House there burned. Nothing really gained for Fluxo for that either, and VKS only able to knock down a Sundis, but they're able to get a bit of free time on Grethar to again try and bridge that gap between him and House.
Rift dropped in the mid lane here. Trigo going to clear out this wave, but is likely not going to be able to protect this tower. The stun will come through some damage, and they'll punch the eye, but it's not going to be enough to protect that mid lane tier 1. A pay for the side of Fluxo, and they'll open up that mid lane just a little bit. Tower count dead even, 1 apiece, and only about 500 gold separating these teams, Rudude. So as we approach this 20-minute mark, we're about dead even. Who does this bode well for? Who are you most happy about for this mid game?
I get to give you my favourite answer, which is that it comes down to execution. Touched earlier on the fact that both of these teams have got really good scaling as we get later into the game. I think that Gigo has a little bit more onus on him because his side lane has been looking indomitable so far this matchup, even with the Hull Breaker in an attempt to stave off the aggression from Gigo. Ty still hasn't really been able to hold a candle to what Gigo's putting down whenever those two go head to head. So it's more a case of the 4v4 that we're seeing on the rest of the map probably just barely favouring Fluxo because of House and how well he's been playing. But when we're seeing the solo laners match up, it has been all Gigo dominating and controlling how that side lane goes.
And Gigo is up in the top lane, trying to put into that tier 2 tower. Tay responding very quickly, so keep an eye on that. And then the 4-man units for both teams just posturing around this mid lane. VKS wants to open up mid lane a little bit. They want to take down this tower, but Fluxo doing a good job of keeping them away, and that's going to be a Meganar top side, and the ultimate into the wall is going to stun Gigo. I think Gigo might die here. Needlework's doing a lot of damage. Tay is close. The sustain from that Riftmaker keeping the Gwen alive.
Killer Instincts burned by Brunsey onto Grell. They weren't able to find the pickup on the Sedge. But a nice little trade in that top side, honestly, for Fluxo. Getting to see now a bit of that power. Good to see Grethar actually making his way over. TP wasn't expended from the Tristana as we welcome back the overlay so that we can see a little bit clearer which cooldowns have and have not been used. Drake secured by Fluxo, given Grethar's movement up to that top side of the map. No point for VKS to try and commit in a 3 versus 4. And again, we're in this mid game now, Yeso, where we're quite happy as both teams. It is going to come down to who can find that lethal engage, who can be the person pulling the trigger and making sure that the enemy's backline is a lot more scared.
Oh, beautiful cleanse there from Brunsey. As soon as that Glacial Prison lands, immediately hits it, means he gets to save his flash and get out of trouble. So well played from the Fluxo bottom laner there.
This is something that's a little bit emblematic of Brunsey. Does tend to step up on mid waves where he shouldn't do. Could have quite easily just caught that wave under his turret and not had to burn cleanse. But it's a cooldown burn. Now, yes, he's it's why you take the summon spell is to burn Sedgel or to eat the Sedgels. But still a little bit disappointed that we see this from Brunsey, and it's not the first time this year that we've seen it happen.
Damage jumping away from Desamas and Jojo there. Teleport on its way from the bottom lane. That's Grethar arriving thanks to that summoner spell. The Void Seeker will land from Brunsey on that 2-item power spike there. That's going to be the Emperor's Divided. They've caught out damage, and they're looking for more. Gigo in the middle of the team. You can't sustain through the 1v5, my friend, and that's going to be Fluxo with control of Baron.
I got it all wrong, Yeso. I thought they drafted the Rakan, the Maokai, then not to engage. It's all about the Azir, baby. House knows what he can do. Sweeping lens in the inventory, clears himself a path, picks up 2 members of VKS, and Fluxo want more.
I feel like there's no way you should want more as VKS here, as Grell just walks into his death. You don't have a chance of contesting that 1v3, and VKS says, hey, you want that Baron here? How about an extra kill on top of it?
Yeah, look at House. He's just cleared himself a path. He's more than happy to go over as well, using the Scryer's Orb to spot out 2 members, caught on out the terrain. Absolutely lethal for Vivo K-Stars there, definitely struggling their way through this mid-game, and Fluxo, again, off the back of House, really, who's turned this game around single-handedly with the couple of engages they've had, picked themselves up a Baron, and now they get to turn into what should be very productive very prolific mid-game, where they can get themselves a lot of gold, pick themselves up some more items, and snowball to an advantage.
Yeah, and I feel like watching that replay too, it looks like Grell and Grethar are thinking, oh, like we've caught House here because you get the Arctic Assault and the rocket jump over the wall, and House is just like, psych, I've actually caught you.
I'll take the other 2.
The wall. Yeah. just slides back on the other side, says, you guys have fun over there, because then Grell and Greptar had to walk all the way around. By that time, Gigo is long gone. So well played. The Fluxo mid lane are looking well in form here today. We pleaded for the Azir, and we've gotten it and more so far in this game. VKS losing that mid lane tier 2. Good push here from Fluxo. 3,300 Baron power play to this point.
Yeah, and this is what you love to see. When we've got, you know, at the start of this Baron, only 2 turrets taken by Fluxo. This is the prolific Rudude Baron buff. It's exactly what Baron buff, where you're able to use it as an economy Baron, right? You're able to secure yourself a ton of gold because you're taking down all the turrets outside of the base. And granted, they've left that bot tier 2, but they've got 2 turrets in the top lane that I hope they try and knock down. They've got a minute left on it. Grunty. Not going to be the subject. There's a little supercharge there to make himself get away. Side lanes weren't quite in position for Fluxo, unfortunately. If they'd have managed those a little bit better, would have been able to take a couple extra turrets. Nevertheless, still, with 3,000 gold economy, it's looking good for Fluxo.
A great Baron buff here for Fluxo. Registered trademark copyright of Rudude, as that's going to be the Nature's Grasp coming through. Gigo getting caught out, doing a lot of damage. They're on a Bruncy, but cannot survive. Tay going to pick up the kill and going gold. There is House. Will be able to get rid of the wall and does get the Emperor's Divide. They're on a Grab. The rocket jump on his head, but it doesn't matter. House is doing work, but they finally take him down there courtesy of damage. But Tay and Jojo want to continue to chase. They've got the numbers advantage. It is the shutdown gold, though, to Trigo, who's trying to run from this Gnar. Damage, possibly willing to sacrifice his life to keep his AD carry alive, and will both get away.
So 2 for 1, it is a kill trade in favor of Fluxo, but you can tell the momentum off the back of that a little strange.
Oh, the flash is not on point from Bruncy, and the snipe with the super mega death rocket.
And I don't know if you caught that, Ye. So people at home, we got a quick glimpse of the player cams. Bruncy's hands straight to the face there, embarrassed by the flash. Flashes straight into the Jinx rocket. He's gonna have to live with that one, unfortunately. He's likely going to give Vivo Cade stars. This dragon neutralized that Drake score. Overall, probably doesn't mean that much. That death is just gonna delay Fluxo on the map by about 10 seconds. But it sure doesn't look good.
That was so well played. Let's take a look at the super mega death rocket here from Trigo.
Observers, why?
I think Bruncy is expecting it to hit the Samus.
That's why does he flash away from the Samus? No! Yeah,
I think he thinks it's going to explode onto Samus, so he's flashing to get out of the explosion range.
Yeah.
And it actually misses to the left of the Samus, and he flashed right into it. Unfortunate.
Happens, okay? It happens.
We've all been there.
And you know, literally, we have all been there. People at home, you make those fancy flashes sometimes. Sometimes you make the bad flashes, and all you've got to do is relive that highlight and say, well, my favorite Brazilian AD carry does those.
There's a certain Vi jungler that is very happy to see that flash here today.
I think it was Desamis last game. Wasn't
I
it?
didn't say anything. I don't know what you're talking about, Rudude. That's going to be an engage. It's going to lock down House here momentarily. Blast Cone perfectly set up, though. House gets out of trouble. Grell and damage cannot lock him down, and that Azir remains very slippery, Rudude.
2.5 items finished for the majority of our carries, honestly, this game. We've seen Trigo now pick up that Lord Dominic's Regard, our most fed member in terms of items for the time being, as we've seen Bruncy now working on the final bits of gold he needs for that Rage Blade. But I feel like a point that we're going to have to bring up a little bit here as we get past 27 minutes into this game. Jinx is the best late game marksman that exists. Tristana is the second best because of how they can play. And when you've got lethal tempo as well, your range becomes even harder to try and combat as Fluxo. Eyes on Tay, eyes on Jojo, and somehow eyes on House to try and pick up these AD carries, because the later this game goes, the harder it's going to be to take them out. And for Jinx, she set that level 9 marker, right? You've got 5 points in rockets, you're able now very easily to stand at range, but Grethar's range increases every single level. The Tristana passive, that she just gets more attack range. Level 18, you outrange the Jinx.
All I gotta say is through 28 minutes, Rudude, I feel like this game has delivered all we could have asked for, and it's not even close to done yet. Two teams at 5-4, battling for what you talked about, right? Sole possession of 4th place, a much more comfortable position here at the start of this second round robin. Both VKS and Fluxo have showed up in this game. But only one of them can walk away with the win. Teleport in there from Tay, and that's going to be the engage damage. Going to be able to get away. Nature's Grasp comes through, and Grell has to back up. Jojo trying to lock down the backline with the quick miss. That is just Grell burning down, and 2 are dead. Grethar goes first, the Juggler goes second, and the Needlework not going to do nearly enough for Gigo. Fluxo win another team fight and turn right for Baron.
Trigo can't quite find the damage there. No AoE from Arunans this time out, and unfortunately, with the Gale Force not able to find a productive flash forward, engage back either, Rocket comes through, it's not going to be able to steal away the Baron at all. Fluxo secure their second one of the game, and this is the Baron that you're hoping can start to break open the base. This is the one that you want to start really making headway in this game. 4,000 gold lead, and Gigo now potentially in trouble as well.
Oh yeah, Gigo's gonna get caught over the wall here by Jojo. That's the killer instinct, and Brunty says, give me that one, please. The Kaisa looking wonderful, and now Fluxo with their eyes on the base, looking to take some inhibitors here as Tay escorts that minion wave into this top lane tower. Fluxo getting the mid lane set up here as well, courtesy of that Baron buff, and it's going to be a difficult defense here for VKS.
And that's exactly what I was talking about in the lobby earlier on. Yeah, so the mid-game woes of Gigo just getting a little caught out, not quite respecting where his enemies could be on the map. Very real possibility that VKS could have mounted the defense of that inhib in a 5 versus 5, but now with a 40-second death timer on your top lane, that's just not the case. 2 inhibs fall, and Fluxo, they've not just made headway in the base, they've absolutely annihilated it.
2 inhibitors down, and Fluxo in a wonderful position. 6,500 gold lead, that Rude Baron buff. 3,700 gold, and Fluxo are in a wonderful position. Beautiful look there at our gold graph. Almost dead even through 10 minutes. VKS start to take over there as they were making plays around Grethar, around Trigo. Fluxo have flipped it on its head here in the last 10 minutes.
Couldn't really be more emblematic of a VKS game, honestly. They just do really well early on, despite some Grell woes, and then all of a sudden have the couple of occasional missteps. And honestly, I don't really want to make this a VKS point. I want to make this a Fluxo and a House specific point, because he just not just carried, but like fully picked up his team and slammed them on his back before he even had the opportunity to be a late game team fighter by carrying them through the mid game and finding those engages. So it really turned the tides of this game where VKS had that advantage.
The one saving grace here, if you're VKS, is going back to the point that you mentioned earlier. You've got the 2 best late game marksmen in your lineup. You've also gotten the most gold on those 2 targets. So VKS have a hope, but the execution is going to need to be impeccable. Nature's Grasp comes through. They want to take down this final inhibitor. Tay is working on that tower. Beautiful
damage!
Damage locks everybody down! And the Samus is shut down. Brunty running for the hills, but I think Gigo is going to be able to chase down this Kaisa. He may not want to go for it because this Kaisa hurts, but he is going to chase him down. The scissors snipping away. Damage is here as well. I don't know that you want to fight Brunty any further, but still a beautiful play from VKS, and they stay alive.
Still has ulti Brunty here. You can see he's sniffing, he's thinking about it. But at the last stand at the Alamo, VKS make their mark. That final inhibitor was going to be the point to play around, and VKS do so. You pointed out the double marksman before we got into that fight. It's exactly what carried VKS through. A lot of damage coming through from Trigo and Grethar, and a lot of damage carrying from damage himself. Grell is now in the pit 1v2.
Yeah, Grell is going to die. That is a killing spree here for Brunty, and they're likely going to take the Drake. No, Gigo has teleported in. He's here with Grethar. Damage on the way. It's getting low. They don't have a smite. It does not matter.
Stolen!
And it doesn't matter because it was stolen by Brunty's Kaisa.
The decision making here from VKS, honestly, their biggest flaw. Grell dives into a pit 1 versus 2. Grethar just hopped into it when he could have used the Tristana range to auto-attack from over a wall, and then has to flash out of the pit to keep himself alive. That's a massive tool that he's not going to have anymore. Just a lot of questions for me at the minute. Now Grell is going to be alive. Another 5 versus 5 most likely to happen down in this bot lane. Damage doesn't have flash this time round, neither does Grethar, but Trigo, your big late game hyper carry, your AD carry who's now got 4 items, has flash, has cleanse, and a lot of safety built into those.
Yeah, as much as you want to look to Grell to make plays for this VKS team, it feels like it's really going to be up to damage. And we saw it in that last team fight. That Magnet Storm is going to be so key to setting them up for success. Then this inhibitor is going to fall, and their Nexus Tower is already wounded, so this is possibly a final defense for VKS to try and keep this game alive. Nature's Grass comes through. Good Glacial Prison will lock down one for a moment, and Giga wants to dash forward. The dance from Fluxo, they're biding their time. They know they have super Bingy Waves spilling into the base. They do not have to get impatient here. They can wait out VKS.
And Nature's Grasp did go down. That's their big zoning tool. With the Baron spawning in a minute's time, it's a question of what Fluxo wants to do. Do they want to end the game here or play for a Baron, which is likely going to have the same effect? Teleport back in from Tay. It looks like this is going to be that fight. Remember, no Glacial Prison from Grell. No Needlework for Gigo either. So really big team fight. Ulti's down. But importantly, damage still has the Magnet Storm.
Is going to lock down Desamas there momentarily. Magnet Storm comes through, and that's Brunty already taking him down. Desamas has traded back, but Grell's going low as Tay is stepping forward. Grethar is going to fall. Trigo, the last one remaining. He does flash and cleanse, so Tay won't stun him, but it doesn't matter. It's the Jinx 1v4. The Rockets for the Dream is not going to be enough. Fluxo take the Nexus and the win as they move to 6-4.
Very strong performance from House in particular in the mid lane. A very well